I'm going to give you a status update on the human infrastructure bill, what the Democrats are doing and what the Republicans are doing in response. We're going to take a look at the hyperinflation situation in Venezuela and see how they're doing. Recent surveys are showing that employees are threatening to quit. The items in the human infrastructure bill were outlined. One of those items was the extension of the child tax credit payments. The Republican politicians are trying to make changes to the child tax credit payments. Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Mike Lee said that they want to prevent the credit from turning into a new welfare program that pays parents not to work. The senators filed an amendment that would disqualify parents that are not working. Rubio said, over the next 6 months, some American households with no working adults will receive $6,000 in cash payments from the federal government. We've seen the destructive consequences that follow when the government pays people not to work. We need to take common sense steps to support working parents, not to recreate the failed welfare state. The politicians are trying to make changes to the human infrastructure bill. A lot of them are coming from Republican Senator Josh Hawley. Hawley submitted an amendment that would give $6,000 to single parents and $12,000 to married parents every year. However, a requirement is that the parents must be working. The human infrastructure bill is promoting universal pre-kindergarten for children ages 3 and 4. Hawley gave another amendment that would prohibit government-run childcare or pre-kindergarten. Senator Hawley also issued amendments that would restrict taxpayer money from going to schools K through 12. Congresswoman Cori Bush is making a big push to defund the police. To counter this, Senator Hawley issued an amendment that would hire 100,000 new police officers across the country. So we'll see what changes in the human infrastructure bill, but a lot of amendments are being thrown around. The politicians will need to finalize everything by September 15th. In political news, I want to give you a status update and a high-level overview of the human infrastructure bill. The bill is going to cost $3.5 trillion. The Republicans are completely against it, but the Democrats have enough votes to pass it without the Republicans. But every single Democratic senator needs to vote yes, otherwise the bill will fail. 2 Democratic senators are threatening to vote no to the bill. Those 2 senators are Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. They're saying that the bill might be too expensive. In reality, it's all an act. It would be political suicide if they actually voted no in the bill. These politicians, they usually threaten to vote no so they can get more things in the bill that would benefit them. Senator Joe Manchin is a perfect example. He was threatening to vote no to the fiscal infrastructure bill, and then the senior politicians decided to work in $1 billion into the bill to go towards the Appalachian Regional Commission, which is led by Joe Manchin's wife, Gail Manchin. So this is pretty standard stuff. This is American politics. The leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, said the Democratic Party is going to stick together on this bill. Schumer said, look, there are some in my caucus who believe that the bill is too much. There are some in my caucus that believe it's too little. I can tell you this, we're going to all come together to get something done. In the House of Representatives, the House Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, said that the House will come back early from vacation on August 23rd to work on the bill. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, says the House of Representatives will vote on the fiscal infrastructure bill and the human infrastructure bill at the same time. Pelosi says this was not her decision. She says this is what the majority wants. Pelosi said this is the consensus. When it comes to the human infrastructure bill, the Republicans are powerless. As a way to get back at the Democrats, the Republicans are pledging not to increase the debt ceiling. If the debt ceiling doesn't get raised, then the federal government cannot borrow any more money. If the federal government can't borrow any more money, then they can't fund the human infrastructure bill. We don't know how far the Republicans will play this game of chicken. We don't know how serious they are. If the Republicans refuse to raise the debt ceiling, the federal government will not be able to pay their bills either. This would cause chaos and would basically ruin the country. If the debt ceiling doesn't get raised, then the politicians, they wouldn't even be able to pay their own salaries. So I'm saying this in all seriousness, I'm not even joking. Some politicians, such as Nancy Pelosi, that are worth $100 million wouldn't care. But a lot of the politicians, yes, they still would care. So this is one of the plays that the Republicans are doing. But Nancy Pelosi said, raising the debt limit is to cover past spending, not new spending. Pelosi said this is Trump's money. This is paying for his tax scam. So we'll see how far this battle goes. We'll see if we have a government shutdown. We'll see what happens. Just prepare yourself for a lot of drama. In international news, if you want to know what happens to an economy if you keep printing money, then all you need to do is look at Venezuela. The government keeps printing more money and they chop off the zeros once the numbers get too big. But this tactic, it's not fooling anybody. The Venezuelans are ditching the Venezuelan currency, the bolívares. It's still in use, but the Venezuelans prefer to transact in dollars. The Venezuelan government tried to stop people from using the dollar, but they gave up and they're not even trying to enforce it anymore. 40% of Venezuelan households are receiving some form of assistance from friends or family outside the country. Zelle is a popular way to get money transferred to Venezuela. The situation is so bad that 5.5 million Venezuelans left the country since 2014. 5.5 million people in a country of 30 million. And a lot of the Venezuelans that left were doctors, engineers, nurses, scientists, but they had to leave because the situation was so bad. The United Nations says 6.3% of Venezuelan children under the age of 5 are acutely malnourished, and 13.4% have experienced stunted growth because of a lack of food. So we don't know when the situation is going to get better over there. We just hope that it happens soon. In current events, many employers are not issuing mandates. Some businesses are afraid of lawsuits. Some businesses are afraid that it's going to cause employees to quit. Research from Qualtrics shows that 44% of Americans say they would consider quitting, but another survey from Qualtrics shows that 38% of workers would consider quitting. Qualtrics is saying this is like a game of tug of war inside many companies. Many employees are saying that they would feel safer if their company required 48% of Generation Z, who are 25 years old and younger, say they would consider quitting if their company does not issue a mandate. This is compared to 39% of millennials ages 26 to 40, and it drops to 36% for Generation X, who are ages 41 to 55. And it falls to 33% for baby boomers, ages 56 and older. And I wanted to leave you with these interesting opinions. The handshake has been around for hundreds of years. As things are returning back to normal, a lot of people are wondering, should I shake hands or should I not? Dr. Anthony Fauci said, I don't think we should shake hands ever again, to be honest with you. Dr. Adalja at the Johns Hopkins University said, if you're worried about the best way to make handshakes safe,